Markets across the Americas experienced mixed results today, reflecting investor sentiment amid economic data releases and global market conditions. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, that is DJIA, in the United States showed the little movement, gaining just 4.18 points to settle at 42,587.50, a marginal 0.01 increase. Also, this reflects a cautious approach from the investor, possibly awaiting further economic indicators or the Federal Reserve policy signals. Meanwhile, the broader S&P 500 performed slightly better, rising 9.08 points, that is 0.16%, indicating steady but measured optimism in the large cap stocks. The Nasdaq, which is heavily weighed with the technological companies, saw a notable gain of 83.26% and suggesting the continued investor confidence in the tech sector. On the other hand, the VIX, that is the Volatility Index, also often seen as the measure of the market fear or uncertainty, dropped by 0.50%, that is to 19.80, also signaling a relatively stable outlook. However, the small cap stocks struggled, with the Russell 2000 index declining 14 points, that is 0.66% down. Also, this could indicate investor concerns over the interest rates and economic pressure impacting smaller companies more significantly than their larger counterparts. Outside the United States, Canadian market showed steady growth, with the S&P TSX Composite rising 35.04 points, and that is the 0.14%, and the gaining of the S&P TSX 60 posting a modest gain of the 1.32 points. Also, these figures suggest a stable economic environment in Canada throughout, and but not experiencing the same momentum as that of some Latin American counterparts. The Latin America market performed strongly, with the Brazil's Bovespa index surging by 746.25 points, likely driven by the investor confidence in the commodities and industrial sectors. Similarly, Mexico's S&P BMV IPC index rose significantly, gaining 528.42 points, that is 1%, making it one of the best performing indices of the day. Also, this could reflect optimism in the Mexico's economic outlook, trade dynamics, or current strength. However, not all markets in the region fared well. Child's S&P IPSA index fell by 26.24 points, that is 0.34% decline, possible to the economic concerns or investor pullbacks in the specific sectors. Overall, today's market activity highlighted resilience in the major US and Latin American indices, with technology and the large cap stocks performing well. However, the small cap stocks and a certain market like Chile faced headwinds. Investors may be closely watching macroeconomic data and global events to gauge future movements, especially as interest rate expectation and inflation trends continue to influence decision making. Commodity markets experienced a significant journal and positive session today, with the major indices and assets posting gains across the energy, metals, and agriculture sector. Crude oil prices saw a modest increase, reflecting ongoing market speculation about the global supply and demand dynamics. Also, WTI crude oil rose to 0.49% to reach $69, while the Brent crude oil gained 0.44%, setting at the $72. Also, the investors remain cautiously optimistic about the oil demand despite concerns over the potential economic slowdowns in the key markets such as China and the United States. Additionally, production cuts from the major oil producer, particularly within the OPEC, continues to influence prices, keeping them within the relatively stable range. In the precious market metals, gold saw a slight increase of 0.09%, reaching $3,000 despite the modest gain. Gold continues to trade near the higher end of the 52-week range as investors seek safe haven asset amid global economic uncertainty. The metal remains a popular choice for hedging against inflation and potential market volatility. Similarly, silver rose 0.36% to reach $93, and the reflecting of of the both investment appeal and industrial demand, particularly from the sectors such as electronics and the renewable energy. With inflation concerns persisting and the central bank monetary policies in focus, precious metal could further see the movement in the coming sessions. On the agriculture side, the soya bean recorded a minor increase of 0.15%, trading at $10.03. The slight rise suggests a stable demand, though the agriculture market remain influenced by the factors such as weather conditions, export activity, and global supply chain trends. Soybean prices also affected by the geopolitical developments, including the trade relation between the US and the China, as well as the broader shifts in the global food production and consumption patterns. Overall, today's gain across energy, metal, and agricultural commodities reflect a cautiously optimistic sentiment in the market, while energy trade remains sensitive to the supplying and the demand side and also the concerns, but the metal continues to attract safe haven interest and assures the agricultural market exhibits steady performance. The investor will likely keep an eye on the global economic indicators, central bank policies, and the geopolitical development in the coming days to assess future commodity prices movements.